Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Traffic Commission meeting of May 18th to order. If you could join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members present this evening is Frank Stringy, City Planner, Nick Rystrom, City Engineer, Chief of the Fire Department, Christopher Bright, and myself, Paul Argenzio, Superintendent of Public Works. This first issue is on for public hearing is a continued discussion regarding traffic improvements for the Suffolk Downs development in Revere. The following pedestrian and traffic safety improvements will be discussed and voted on. A single block of Harris Street between Winthrop Ave and Sewell Street will be converted from two-way to one-way northbound, and a single block of Sewell Street from Harris Street to Bixby Street will be converted from two-way to one-way westbound. These changes are proposed to improve signalized intersection operations and reduce neighborhood traffic. Continue, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Borowski with the HYM Investment Group. It's good to be here before the Traffic Commission again. I'll walk through our agenda for tonight. First, I'll just give a quick overview of Suffolk Downs and some of the traffic improvements that we've discussed to date. Then I'll walk through some informational items just for those who hadn't been here at the previous Traffic Commission, noting some of the improvements that we're incorporating into our first phase here of traffic improvements. That's in and around Suffolk Downs and in Revere. And then we'll follow up specifically or talk specifically about the item that's up for a vote tonight, which is that the intersection at Route 16, Route 145, Winthrop, and Harris. So just to remind everybody, what the reason for us being here. We are developing Suffolk Downs, as many know. We acquired the land in 2017. We've been busy permitting it. As part of our approvals and part of the detailed process we went through with MassDOT, the City of Revere, and the City of Boston, we have a series of traffic improvements in and around the project, which will help to ease the any traffic congestion in the area, and also accommodate the new uses on our site. So what you see in this plan is our site, which is Suffolk Downs, which is highlighted in blue. Everything highlighted in red, that just shows where all of these different intersections are as part of our initial phase. And we're going to be talking about some of these tonight. Specifically, we'll be talking about the one on the left side of the page right here, again, Route 16, 45, and Harris Street. That's one of the items we're going to be focused on tonight. So this plan just gives a little bit of a more detailed context. You can see our site here, again, shaded in blue. The items we talked about last week were improvements along Winthrop Avenue and Donnelly Square and Crescent Avenue. Those had been approved at the previous hearing. Here tonight, we're going to be focused primarily on this intersection over here, which is a little farther west at Revere Beach Parkway, Harris Street, and Route 16. So just for information, I know we've covered this in a couple previous meetings and hearings. One of the improvements that we made, and this is again more for informational purposes, we are creating a cut in the median across from the public safety building, specifically in front of the fire station, so that the fire trucks can directly head out along. This change is being made along with the change in the curb cut to align everything in the correct manner, so that the fire trucks can actually get out and take a left heading westbound on Revere Beach Parkway. In addition, fire trucks who trying to come back into the station can take a left-hand turn back into the station. In addition, we'll be installing do not block the box striping, and the station will have its own signal. So again, this is a change that we were happy to make. We know we've been talking to the city and the fire department about this for the last couple of years, and we'll be installing this in our initial phase. One other item that was noted by the city during our permitting process was the amount of students at Revere High School who after school will just get out of school and cross the median. There's no crosswalk there. on Route 60, and they'll cross without a safe crossing. So what we've been able to do is, this was part of our future work towards Bell Circle. We've advanced this to our initial phase to make a safe crossing condition for students so that they can cross the street to the southbound side of the street. Lastly, one other additional item, again, this is more for informational purposes only, but the merge lane from Winthrop Avenue or Revere Beach Parkway onto Route 1A headed south. As many people know, when they go by Railroad Street, it's a fairly dangerous condition. So what we're doing is we're improving the merge lane condition by extending it by 300 feet. So it's a more logical way and more safe way for cars to merge in as they're heading southbound on Route 1A and to avoid any potential traffic incidents. And one last item, just to note that we are installing a series of bike lanes. Some of those are on the adjacent to our site, some of those in Donnelly Square or Beachmont Square, as we talked about last time. This image right here just gives an example of the two-way bike path that will be on Winthrop Avenue next to Suffolk Downs. And that'll also include a sidewalk, double row of street trees to try to create more of a boulevard type setting along the edge of Winthrop Avenue. So I'd like to spend just a minute talking about Crescent Avenue. This is an intersection that was approved at the last hearing, was approved with conditions. And we had some discussion about some additional striping. So on the left side where it says proposed, this is what we had discussed last time, was approved with conditions. So one item I wanted to mention, we did go back and, as was asked of us, we did complete a traffic signal warrant analysis. Just a quick reminder, any signal on Bennington Avenue, Bennington is a MassDOT controlled road, so it has to follow MassDOT's criteria for what necessitates a traffic signal. So based on the criteria that they have, this location does not merit a traffic signal. That being said, one suggestion we got last time we were here was to install do not block the box striping, as you can see here on the right side of the page here. Do not block the box striping here to allow, to help prevent cars from blocking people from coming out of Crescent Avenue heading north or south. So we'd like to propose to the Traffic Commission that this be included as part of the plan for these intersection improvements. Not sure if that's a voting item, but just wanted to propose that. I would say the only item I would say is that we still have to talk to MassDOT about it and just make sure that they approve of it, because again, it's a MassDOT road. We'd assume that they would, but just wanted to include that as well.
Okay, thank you. This being a public hearing, now we're talking specifically about the Harris Street, Sewell Street.
I was going to move on to
Okay,
that next.
thank you.
Okay. So now I can bring up Ian McKinnon from Howard Stein Hudson, our traffic engineer, to walk through these changes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for your time tonight. So we want to talk a little bit about Harris Street. I know it's been a month or two since we talked about this location, and we have a little bit more new information that we wanted to share with you. And just by way of background, the location at Harris abuts a Mass DOT intersection, and there was significant dialogue during the MEPA process about how to take and put regional traffic back onto regional roadways. And so a lot of the impetus for the design changes here was to actually normalize this intersection, because today it's a very odd five-leg intersection, which is not safe for drivers, it's not safe for people walking. So the directionality changes here that are proposed, and there's two graphics that you'll see in front of you up here. On the left is how it works today. There's basically two-way traffic heading into and out of Harris Street and across Winthrop Avenue. And then on Revere Beach Parkway, you can go southbound, but you cannot take a southbound left. So that is key to this change here. And so what is proposed, and the signage that's proposed is on the right in the areas in purple. The first one to the south is that first block of Harris up to Sewell Street. That's proposed to be one-way northbound, meaning that you couldn't come into the intersection anymore. And I can discuss more about the routing of that in a second here. And then last time we were here, we talked a little bit with the counselor about this possible Sewell Street connection and this small section between Harris and Bixby, and whether or not that could be turned into one-way to kind of smooth the flow. Because in this proposed condition, you're going to have some people flowing down from Harris that will have to be rerouted. And so we understand Sewell Street to be a little bit narrow. And so, you know, that's something that we've come back with and proposed here. It can be part of this discussion as well. And that's the second area in purple. And so there's some proposed one-way signage and a stop sign scenario that would be included as part of this. So what this really means is putting regional traffic back onto regional roads. We understand Route 16 is the major connection from Bell Circle south. And what you can tell from this diagram is there's a lot of people that duck off and take Harris Street because they know they can get around. And they do that because at the Winthrop Avenue intersection, you can't take a left. You can't get to points east to Beachmont. You can't get to Winthrop. And so they'll often drive back down past and find other ways to make their way east. And so the change here that's proposed is to actually add two left turning lanes that allow you to do what's on the right side of this. So it would remove a lot of the cut-through traffic and neighborhood traffic that's on the left where the big X is, all the way over to here, where it belongs, where there's extra capacity today. And so we actually, at the comment of the March hearing, went out and actually collected new traffic data on Harris Street at two locations, one between Sewell and Winthrop, and we also collected just north of Eustis as well. And so we found that, you know, of the about 2,500 vehicles are using this roadway today, and approximately 1,600 of them we would believe would be categorized as cut-through traffic, regional traffic that is not going to anybody that lives on Harris Street. And so we believe about 60% of those, or 1,600 vehicles, would be shifted out of the neighborhood and onto a regional roadway, which is where they should be and where there is extra capacity. So I'll talk a little bit about this and a little bit about the operations and sort of the benefits from a traffic perspective. But I also wanted to first answer, you know, if I were a resident on the street, how would I go? What would change in my day-to-day life? And so what this diagram represents are the new flow patterns. And obviously, we understand Bell Circle has some issues, and there's some future improvements proposed there as part of a later phase of development of Suffolk Downs. But if you were to live in this block near Winthrop in this intersection, you could go up and take the right and connect down, because you would then have the ability to take a left and go to points east in the future. And you could also take Sewell and connect back down to Winthrop Avenue, which will also get some improvements that I'll talk about here in a second. So overall, we expect it to be a time savings. So just to look a little bit about the traffic perspective, and usually when we talk about traffic, we talk about queues and waiting time, like how many cars are in front of me to get between me and the light, and how long it's going to take me. So there's some diagrams here, and hopefully it's just a geographical reference for you, because there's a before and an after. So the left is the before, and the right is the after. So on the left, we have both a blue and an orange line. That means an average, what was an average queue in the morning, and what is the absolute worst case in the morning. And so those queues can stretch past Sewell Street, even further back. And we've seen this through observations, and we understand that some people may not even be able to exit their own driveways because there's a queue of cars lining up in front of them. So on the right, you'll see is what the proposed conditions. So if we add this double left turn lane that's coming down Route 16 from Bell Circle, we push the vehicles over there where there's significant queues. And you'll see here on the left, those queues drop by almost 40% for the entire intersection. But on this one approach, they drop by over 200 feet, and that means almost 8 cars. And that's really meaningful time savings, and I'll get into the time savings piece here in a minute. But this is also the afternoon, so that the before one was the morning, this one's the afternoon. Again, we see just a little bit less queues existing today on Harris Street, but then they're all shifted onto the regional roadway, so people can actually leave their driveways. And because of that, they're put on a roadway that has the capacity to put 2 lanes, and so it's less waiting time for everybody. In terms of the waiting time itself, in the morning, we see very significant time savings. Usually, when we talk about time savings, we talk about waiting or delay. It's the time spent that you're sitting there just waiting for the next car to move in front of you, or you're waiting for the light to change, and it affects everyone. And so this is a color-coded scheme here, green being really good and red being bad. So today, Harris and Winthrop have really bad waiting times. We know that people wait 2 or 3 minutes sometimes during the peak hours, during the morning commutes and at night. So on the right, everything has been recalibrated, retimed, and the time that was spent on Harris is then redistributed to the other because it is now, instead of a five-leg intersection, it's only a 4. And so most of that time gets distributed to the remaining legs, so everybody benefits. So it'll save everybody in the morning about 40 seconds per person that drives through this intersection, which is meaningful, very meaningful time savings. In the afternoon, traffic flows are a little bit different, and so it doesn't get worse, but it's significantly better. And so we also have pushed all of those vehicles' times. It's the queues on Harris aren't as bad in the afternoon, but we are shifting them over. And it is significantly better for the local neighborhood. Winthrop Avenue improves in a significant amount. The queues basically, or the waiting times drop in half. So instead of waiting a minute and a half, you're only waiting 40 seconds on average. So I will open up to any questions, but I think I would close in saying that we expect that, you know, a lot of these changes are regionally focused in nature, and we expect them to benefit both the neighborhood because it will remove a lot of the cut-through traffic that is seen there today. And we have studied it. The traffic trends are continuing to stay what they were before COVID, if not increase a little bit on Harris Street. So I think it'll be a benefit if we move this traffic over onto Harris. And it really allows us to redefine the intersection, too, to make it safer for people to walk, bike, or get through the intersection itself by removing this one piece of it. So with that, unless you have anything else, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The 2,500 cars, is that in a 24-hour period?
Yes, that's in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
In the peak hours, it's 200 to 300.
Okay. Now, this makes the assumption, if you want to go east, that they're going to go to Bell Circle, take the right, and get into those 2 lanes to go left. What if people choose to go down to Harris, take a right on Sewell, a left on Elm, and a left on Winthrop? How do we convey to those people that that's not?
So that's going to be a time savings because of.
So they'll learn that as they.
They'll learn that, and we're going to add. There's some directionality signage there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else wishing to speak in? Well, this is a public hearing, so anyone wish to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone wish to speak in favor? That side is closed. Anyone wish to speak in opposition? Councilor McKenna?
Mr. Chairman, Joanne McKenna, Ward 1 Councilor. I believe this is not going to be really well received by the neighborhood. I think it's going to be a cut-through to go to Winthrop Ave. I think people are going to be confused. I know there's going to be signage there to direct people onto Beach Street to go around. But I just think that, I think we talked to Ira Novoselsky, and I talked to Tom O'Brien and Dina DeFangio, and we decided that we would try to make Sewell Street a one-way so people couldn't take that left, because what's going to happen is it's going to inundate those poor small streets with traffic, because people are going to get confused, and if people are on Waze or if they're on Google Map, they're going to be directed down Sewell Street the easiest way possible. You think they're going to direct them to all the way down to Beach Street to go around and then take a left? No, they're going to be directed to go the easiest way, which is Sewell Street to Elm Street onto Winthrop Ave. And I have a real big problem with Winthrop Ave, because what happens is there's 2 lanes there, but the street's not wide enough for 2 lanes. So you'll get 2 cars on the on the right-hand side, and maybe 2 cars on the left-hand side where the 2 lanes are. But then if someone blocks the lanes, then it's 1 line all the way up to McMacken Field. or beyond. So that's a real big problem. If they could look at Winthrop Ave, and I know they haven't discussed this, but to widen it a little bit so we could get 2 lanes there if you're going to change the whole traffic, conditions there. And the other thing too is you have, on Beach Street, you have, if they're going to direct everybody on Beach Street to take that right, to take the left onto Revere Beach, Beachmont, they have to do something with that turn, because if Beach Street backs up, if people are going to Shirley Ave, it backs up there. So, and it's hard to get around if there's cars. So they have to do something with those turns too. But I'm recommending that they make Sewell Street, if they're going to do this, Sewell Street a one-way going down Harris Street so people can't cut through. Because you have waves, you're going to have all these people cutting through Sewell, Elm, onto Winthrop Ave. And I really think that they should look at Winthrop Ave
So I
also.
think the proposal is making it one-way in. You're looking to make it do not enter from Harris?
Yeah,
I think that would create a dead end. I mean, cars would go down there, they'd get to that point, they couldn't go right and they couldn't go straight, it would be a
well,
dead
are
end.
they going to make Elm Street a one-way so that you can't go down that way?
Yeah, this proposal, no.
No,
But like I say, making that do not enter, I think that creates a dead end, so.
okay. Now, I've been told that they're going to have signage there, do not enter, only residents. Is that true? Yes. Okay. And you're going to have boards that direct the people onto Beach Street and then around?
So that's the first I'm hearing of that, do not enter residents only?
Yeah.
Where's that?
So I think we talked about last time, working with the city to make sure there's signage well in advance of this change coming, so that, folks get used to a new traffic pattern. If they do decide to ignore the traffic pattern, I think they'll soon learn that it's gonna take them a long time to get through this area, versus if they were to stay straight heading on Route 16, heading southbound, to take the double left-hand turn lane there. But we're happy to work with the city of Revere to install signage, anything that's needed in advance of this intersection
So where's the
change.
resident only do not enter?
Where would the signage be
Yeah,
located?
yes.
So I think it would be at the top of Harris Street, but again, we'd work with the city to install the signage in the right location based on where that traffic is coming off to head down Harris Street. Again, we can work with the city to put it in the most appropriate location.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
we discussed this, that it would be a sign saying, this, not a throughway, not residents only, but it's not a throughway, to
Okay,
discourage traffic from coming down there, so they know they can't get out at Harris Street, and have a message board at the corner of Beach Street and Harris Street directing traffic to Bell Circle to Route 16.
okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition? Counselor?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm here tonight in opposition to this proposal. I think we already get traffic coming off of the highway up Harris Street, which is a dangerous area to begin with anyway, and then they go down, they cross Beach Street, and they get down Harris Street. I think to not allow them in some way to when they get to the bottom there, not get to the bottom or go some other way. It has to be redesigned. This is crazy. Sewell Street, people live down there. They put up with a lot of nonsense down there over the years. They put up with flooding every time it rains. Now you want to send all of this traffic down there? It's crazy. And I'm 100% against it. And I will support Councilor McKenna and any of my other colleagues that work something out to stop this. It's insane. The people don't need that traffic coming through. And I'm 100% against it, and as I said, and I will vote to oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else wishing to speak in?
Can I just say something? I just wanted to add that Anthony Cogliandro is also against this. And he's
Councilor
gonna,
Cogliandro.
he's gonna, yes, Councilor Cogliandro, and he's gonna take over for that, in that area.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor. Anyone else wishing to speak?
How are you, Mr. Chairman?
Very good.
Ed Terrell, 70 Sewell Street, Revere, Mass. Signs aren't going to work because there's no enforcement right now. At Elm Street and Sewell Street, drivers are totally ignoring the signs, and they're going right through the intersection at high speed. Someone's going to get killed. They're flying through our street down Sewell Street like you cannot believe. At American Legion and Harris Street, it's one way, but it has never been enforced. Signs aren't going to work. There's an enforcement problem. We need police officers down there, and we need help. We need it right away. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members, my name is Richard Powers. I live at 76 Sewell Street. In my past life, for 20 years before I retired, I was the director of communications for various state agencies, the Department of Transitional Assistance, the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, and the Massachusetts Health Connector. And one of my prime responsibilities was, whenever the agency wanted to promote something, I would look at it and give them the talking points that I felt were the things that would sway public opinion in our favor. I've looked at this proposal, and I'm glad I'm not consulting with them, because I can't see one thing that this does that's positive. As you know, if you've been in the city, and you've been in the city a long time, it's a beautiful neighborhood. It's a walking neighborhood. There are a lot of walkers, and especially kids to and from the Immaculate Conception School use that street to walk. Now, the street is much narrower than Harris Street, and on the portion of the street from Harris Street up to Elm Street, there are no sidewalks. So those kids who would be walking to and from school, I feel their public safety would be jeopardized by this proposal. To me, I mean, this just puts more and at the outset, the representative of the company said that the purpose of this was to reduce neighborhood traffic. This puts more on the highways, and this increases neighborhood traffic. It will increase it from Harris on Sewell to Elm Street, and then probably up to Low Street. I just think it's a poorly thought out idea. And finally, before I did those jobs with the state, some of you might recall, but I was the editor of the Journal. I was there from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I've heard a lot of plans about Bell Circle. Some of them went through, some didn't. I have to give you credit. This is the first plan I've heard to increase traffic to Bell Circle. I have never heard that before, and they are proposing to increase traffic to Bell Circle. So I give them credit for that, but I don't think that's a very good idea.
Thank you.
I hope you will defeat this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Certainly.
Hi, my name's Larry Smith. I live at 87 Sewell Street, and I'm speaking in opposition also to the process, because when we had a meeting a couple of nights ago at the Beachmont School, there were a number of residents that were there in attendance, and we all were getting many of us getting the information for the first time, or needed more time to think about different things. And at the end of the meeting, there was, I think, a good consensus to try to put this decision off so that we could work with HYM to try to come up with a better solution, because there were a number of people there also that were against this proposal. So I'm speaking against that as a resident of Sewell Street. I think something better can be worked out. I would certainly hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, these guys, HYM, have
Name
done a
and
great...
address.
51 Arcadia Street, Anthony Pazziali.
Thank you.
HYM has done a great job with information and helping everybody, so this isn't, I'm curious if I could ask them a question. What happens if you don't do this? So, because you said that currently 2,500 cars every day go down there. So let's say this gets shot down and you don't do it. Could you speak to that? What would happen if this doesn't happen?
So the improvement here is to actually improve traffic at that intersection. So if we do not remove this leg of the intersection and this stays as part of the intersection, then delays will go up for everybody. If substantially, minutes.
So would you be able to put your 2 lanes in for people going left and keep this leg?
We could,
You could.
but it will take time away from.
Time to go through the
everybody.
cycle.
Everybody will wait an extra 35, 45 seconds more.
Okay, thank you.
So the real reason to do this is to take the neighborhood traffic, to cut-through traffic, regional traffic, people that are using Waze and Google Maps, that are coming down Route 60,
Right.
who are ducking off onto Harris Street, and
Right.
keep them on the regional roadways. They're already there today. They're going to stay there.
Okay,
So, Mike, do you want?
all right.
I would just say that, just to build on that point, so when people put, if they're coming south on 16, going through Bell Circle, and they throw into Waze some location, Toretto's or somewhere in Donnelly Square or farther south, Waze is gonna tell them the fastest way to go. So after this change, the fastest way to go will not be through the neighborhood where you can't get out of Harris Street. It will be to stay on Route 16, get in that double left-hand turn lane, and head that way. So Google, and after a change like this would be implemented, Waze and Google react to that, to a new change in to a new change in directionality on this roadway. And again, the purpose of this, as the stats that Ian put up there, that there's about 2,500 cars per day coming through Harris Street. After implementation, and 60% of that would come off because that 60% of regional traffic is taking Harris Street just so they can take that left-hand turn. If they can no longer take a left-hand turn from Harris Street to Revere Beach Parkway, they don't want to come through Harris Street anymore. They want to stay on Route 16 and take that left-hand turn, and they'll do it 40 seconds faster. They would do it 40 seconds faster than if they were to today stay on Harris Street. So
Thank you.
just wanted to add that.
Anyone else wishing to? Jim? Okay.
Sorry, Mike. Do I have to, Anthony Pazziali,
No,
51?
no,
Okay.
you're all set.
I guess my question was, if you guys don't do it, will it still be the same amount of traffic? So the people are currently dealing with 2,500 cars. If you guys don't do it, are they still dealing with 2,500 cars a day, or will it be more? And if it's not more, why should these people have to have their traffic pattern changed so that everybody else can be convenienced? So I'm just, if there's gonna be more traffic, I'm not for it or against it, I'm just trying to understand what's the purpose of having it done. If there's not gonna be more traffic on that street, what's the point? I understand it helps the intersection and the greater good and maybe getting people to and from Suffolk Downs, but I don't know that the neighborhood should have to suffer for that.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's a fair question, a fair point. I think what we would say and suggest is that fewer cars in the neighborhood is presumably a better thing. I mean, these are the streets that your kids and your families live on. If there's 1,600 cars less on your street, it is a safer place for you and your family. And it also means that you can get out of your driveway. And these cars are on the regional highways, the roads that were designed for that many cars. And so that's where we want them. And I think that's sort of the key takeaway here is if we put them out there, yes, the folks that are traveling regionally will benefit as well, but you will also benefit because it saves time for everybody. So the folks that are waiting to get out of Winthrop, you may wait 3 minutes to get out. Now if you go over to Sewell to Elm, you'll only wait 40 seconds. So it benefits the neighborhood as well. So I think that's the key part here that we want to send home is that this is a benefit for everyone, especially those that live in that neighborhood that don't have to have as many people traveling down their street, because that's not the way that road was designed. It was not designed to carry 2,500 people a day. It was designed to 500, the people that live there, and that's the way it should be, presumably.
Oh, just one question. So you're saying in your analysis that most of the cars that are going down Harris Street are coming down the highway, getting off at Bell Circle, and then going down Harris to take that left? They're not coming from Beach Street, say from Broadway? The majority of the cars are coming?
There's a portion of them that are, yes.
Okay,
But there are some that are coming down Route 60 and that
Right.
are doing that. But the majority of traffic should stay on them instead of cutting through. Yes, there will always be people that find the back roads, they know their neighborhoods, they
Right.
can find the way. But we're trying to design here is to avoid the masses that are coming from a regional perspective, the
Traffic,
folks that are coming down from Salem and points north.
thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hi, my name is Carol Smith, and I live at 87 Sewell Street. I would just like to reiterate what Mr. Powers was saying. I know Harris Street really can't handle a lot of traffic, but did you ever look at Sewell Street and see what that looks like? There are no sidewalks. There are a lot of children from the Immaculate, from Revere High School, go to the Hill School. I live on that street. I see the children and the families with carriages every day. And now we're going to put more traffic. People will be cutting through. It'll be a constant traffic. Trust me, day and night, around to get around up on Winthrop Ave. And if Harris Street can't handle traffic, Sewell Street certainly cannot, with no sidewalks for pedestrians to go on to get away from the traffic. And the children, I don't know if anything was looked into as far as that goes, how many children and families walk on that street every day, back and forth to school, and they have to walk in the street because there's no sidewalks. Putting more traffic on there is going to be very dangerous. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Thank you, Aaron Novoselsky. This is my neighborhood. I'm Ward 2 Councilor, 53 DeHaan Street. But I'm into traffic things, watching things happen. And, I can understand the additional 2 left-lane traffic lanes coming off Route 16 from Bell Circle. And I had a concern about Sewell Street and Harris Street right from the beginning. I told Tom and his crew that. But I think what should happen, or could happen if they're willing to do it, I know a lot has to do with MassDOT and what they like to see. But in this case, I would leave Harris Street alone, put in the 2 lanes, because after a while, people are going to learn that those 2 left lanes are there, and they won't have to go down Harris Street to take that turn. So I think it's a learning experience, a training experience. So, would I like to see the 2 lanes take the left off 16 to go down the Parkway? Absolutely. But I still think that once the people learn that, they'll avoid Harris Street because they know they'll be able to take the left there. So that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Councilor. Sure.
Thank you. Ward 1 Councilor Joanne McKenna. I was just wondering, if this does pass tonight and it doesn't work, can you reverse it? I mean, if this is going to pass tonight, and say we put like maybe a 30-day or a 60-day trial, Endicott Ave was made a one-way, okay, a couple of years ago. Didn't work. It was a one-way for 60 days, and then we turned it back to 2 ways, and everybody was happy. But we did that. We had traffic studies, everything. They changed it into a one-way. It didn't work. And then after 60 days, they made it a 2-way again. So I'm asking HYM, if this doesn't work, can you reverse it?
The 2 lanes that will potentially be constructed, when is that planned for? A year from now or 2024?
I don't see a problem with the 2 lanes. I see a problem with going down Sewell Street, which, we have the neighbors here. It's a very small street. It does have a lot of kids on there. I mean, it shouldn't be inundated with cars, and that's what's going to happen. And Winthrop Ave is not going to be able to handle the load. I really don't think so. If you're going to cut through to Elm to go to Winthrop, it's not going to handle it. It won't be able to handle it. So I think we need to, maybe have a further discussion on this before it's passed, and maybe get the neighbors, have a neighborhood community meeting for the neighbors that live on this street, and then, have them come in and propose it. Maybe we can come up with a better solution. but I don't think it should be voted on tonight. I really don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I apologize to Joanne. I think it should be voted on tonight and it should be defeated.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am. Oh, sure.
First, I want to apologize because I may be repeating things. I was late to the meeting coming
That's
from
okay.
work. My name is Cindy Evans. I live on Butler Street. Butler Street runs parallel to Sewell. We are a huge walking neighborhood. There are dogs, there are many children. It's a very family-oriented neighborhood. There are no sidewalks. When cars come through now, we're very worried because they sometimes speed. You have a multitude of cars and multiple cars coming through, it's going to be dangerous. It is a situation that none of us wants to face. I can guarantee you that there will be problems. Now, let's say you do go through with it and the cars are rerouted, they're going to learn, oh, okay, we can go down Butler Street too. So we'll have folks going down Butler, folks going down Elm Street, up to the corner. Now, if you've not driven there, I have many a time coming from Butler to Elm to Winthrop. That is a blind corner. It is very, very difficult to get out, navigate the traffic, and make that left. Many a times I've had to stop, and I'm a very cautious driver. It's a situation that could be catastrophic. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
I myself would ask that this council or the committee vote this down tonight. That'll give them the understanding that it's not going to happen, and they can get on and form another plan to solve their problem. But I would hope they would vote this down tonight, 100%. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor. Sir?
Paul Lucero, 800 Broadway. I'm against this for one reason, is that they're proposing that it does not put traffic on the side streets, which it actually maybe not at the initial part. They'll have to find another way to get to work, but at nighttime, it'll definitely put people who, when they come down, you figure it takes you from Harris to Sewell to go down to Elm, maybe not even 10 seconds, make the left, come back around, go up, make the left at Winthrop Ave. That's during the evening. And we're looking at the high points of what, 250, maybe 300 cars going through there? At the high point, extra cars, at the peak side. So we'll just talk about the peak side, which I don't think it's that many cars at that time. But what'll happen is that at nighttime, you'll see them come up, go up, and then come down that way. How wide is Sewell Street? And you got, what, 6 to 7 feet for a car? And if you got parking on either side, which there's no restricted parking on that, it definitely brings it back down. All I'm worried about is not during the day, because sooner or later, they'll get the hint that they, if going that way, coming right, it'll take them the same amount of time, for a few seconds to get to Winthrop Ave, but Winthrop Ave will be blocked all the way back. Line to line to line. Beach Street will be doing the same thing. That's why. And if it were, I'm hoping that there's more talk about it, but the 2,500, that's about average. They're still going to come down that way at night. During the day, at the morning, or it'll be easier for people to know. You're going to have 2 lanes coming down into Harris, right? Or no? No. So when you come down, when you come off, you'll be able to negotiate Harris to go northbound like you're going to Lynn. Yes, 2 lanes.
2 lanes anymore, yeah, we can pull this out.
Yeah. So it'll be 2 lanes, and then 1 lane can go to the left. Yep.
So here, so which approach?
Okay, yeah, so when you're coming off, right there, going off from from Winthrop Avenue and go right, so that's gonna be two lanes, one going to the left and one going straight, right?
Winthrop Avenue, right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So you're gonna come this way? I'm talking about this way, so only gonna be one lane.
One lane, yes.
One lane. And so, okay, so then is there going to be designations as a hard lane going that way? Because knowing how people are, they are going to choose their own lanes to go left if they're gonna have to quit, but they're gonna still be able to make the left at Sewell, correct?
You're saying if they're coming this way?
Yeah,
There's,
yeah, and these people will be coming this way. The only other thing I could say is make a suggestion is if you put a stop sign there, that there'll be a light at the top of the stop sign.
yeah, we expect only like 20 cars an hour to be
Yeah.
making this movement, to come into
Okay.
Harris. There'll be next to no.
Okay, yeah, but my,
One car,
okay,
3
no
minutes.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem. But the only reason I'm in opposition to this one is because of the width of Sewell Street and at night, not during the day. People will get the hint that when they make those two, the right and the left, and they come up to Winthrop Ave, that it's a no-go. They're not gonna save any time. But at night, when you make the right and you make the left, it's going to be just as fast. You may add maybe a few seconds on your time and go down to Winthrop Ave.
Thank you. Oh, sure. You want to respond? Yeah.
So I think when people, like you made a comment, they'll realize it's a no-go, they'll realize this is not going to save them time to kind of make their way through the neighborhood. I think they'll realize that if they stay, if they're heading south, going by Bell Circle, they're going to realize whether through Waze or through, they've done this, they take this trip every day, or they're, they live in the neighborhood. I think they're going to learn, like, oh, I know it's much faster if I stay here. I can either take a right, or I can do the double left-hand turn. They're going to realize pretty soon that it doesn't make sense to cut through the neighborhood. But maybe there's one of the,
Can I answer that? With due
If
respect?
you want to respond,
With due
that's.
respect, I know, I live in the city.
Right.
So I use that street all the time.
Harris Street.
Yep, and if it's backed up, I go through the back sides. I don't speed because it definitely people will know who I am. But what I'm saying is that at night, they're gonna do it. I believe at night they're gonna do it. That's my only opposition, and it would have to be the width and especially no sidewalks. There's nowhere for pedestrians to go. They are not going to walk along the grass. They're gonna walk along the edge of the road.
And I think if you make it one way, then there is space to add sidewalks, so.
Well, so what they, yeah,
I mean,
there
the
may or
city
may not.
could pursue that.
Yeah, there may or may not, because of the park and the width. And if it's only 18, you gotta have, 36 inches on either side for a sidewalk to properly do that?
Yeah. And the question about the Winthrop Avenue, I know people have said that it could back up behind Elm, but what we're showing is if you do this change, the queue is gonna be 250, which is
No,
like 12, yeah.
I know it's gonna go.
It's gonna go much less, yeah, so.
The mitigation for the traffic during that, it's only 250 cars. It'll just be absorbed. You're gonna go back maybe 10, 20 feet, maybe more. But my whole thing is that at night, when somebody comes down Harris, they know the neighborhood, they know they can go right, they know they can go left, and they can make it to Winthrop Ave, make the left on Winthrop Ave. They'll come down this way, go right on Sewell, and then come back to Elm, and come back to Harris, exactly
Yeah,
like
this.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the intention.
Yeah, well, the attention at night wouldn't be as safe as I think it would be. That's my only opposition to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because of the width of the street, no sidewalks.
that could be something that
Okay.
the police and
Yeah, that's fine.
enforcement could take care of too.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I'm sorry, again.
Again.
Do I have to say my name, Joanne
No.
McKenna?
you're-
So, my friend just made a good point. You're on, I don't know what the name of the street is, if it's Squire Road coming along going along the high school, okay? When the traffic backs up there, there's the American Legion Highway, all right. So when the traffic is backed up there, there's a sign that says, "Do not enter," to go up Harris Street. Guess how many people go up Harris Street? It's all the time, all right? This has been going on for years. Do you think this is going to work with the sign? And the other thing is, where's the police? There's no police enforcement. So all these people are going up the hill, it says, "Do not enter," and they still go up You know where I'm talking about?
I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
they're going up, they're coming down Beach Street, they go right through Beach Street, right onto Harris, so.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Any members of the commission care to make any comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the only way this is going to work is that we have to isolate the neighborhood and have Butler and Sewell Street one-way eastbound, so no traffic can come off of Harris Street and get into that neighborhood. Right now, Harris Street is the only option. There are no other options for traffic coming southbound and heading eastbound towards Beachmont. So I myself, when I lived in Beachmont, I hated going down Harris Street because of the delays. That signal allows maybe 2 or 3 cars to go through it. So at the time, I would go down Route 16, and there was a turnaround near Railroad, and they'd take that. And that was an inconvenience. This option, to me, is the answer to get regional traffic out of Harris Street. But on the other hand, I understand the neighborhood's concern, because people will try to take, when they're going down there and they get confused, they'll take the first street they can to get out of there. So, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with this right now, is go ahead, because we need the 2 left-hand turn lanes on Route 16. If we left Harris Street the way it is, that would just add more delays to Harris Street and the whole intersection for people to get out, because you have a left-hand turn movement from Route 16 to get onto Revere Beach Parkway. So either way, people are going to be affected by this. I don't think Mass DOT or HYM would have a problem with it, keeping it designed as the way it is, and keeping those 2 left-hand turn lanes, because that takes the regional traffic into Suffolk Downs, into East Boston, into Winthrop, east to Beachmont, and into Revere Beach, if they want to head that direction. So I would say that we leave Harris Street alone and implement the rest of the improvements to the intersection, and see how that lies.
Thank you. Any other
Just put that
comments?
out there.
Do you want to put that in the form of a motion? Okay. Any?
I agree. I am concerned about funneling the traffic onto Sewell Street. That is very narrow. There are no sidewalks there, and that could be a serious public safety concern.
Mr. Chairman, so I would say, I think that the problem right now is that the only way to go east on Revere Beach Parkway is to get off of American Legion, come down Harris, and then make that left. I think we absolutely need to have a change at the ramp coming down from Bell Circle, so you can take a left from there. I think will do a lot to take some of that traffic that's trying to cut through and keep it where it belongs, which is on the regional bigger roads. I do think that for, I don't know how long, but at least initially, it will be a problem for the neighborhood, because people aren't going to realize that right away. They're going to get stuck down there. They're going to have some confusion as to how to, have to turn around and then come back. I think it would be, prudent to think about implementing those 2 turn lanes and, just temporarily, leaving Harris as it is, so that there's a little bit of a learning curve there. And some of the people that are coming and, wanting to use that as their only way left, once they learn that they have 2 lanes to go left, then I think that they won't want to go down Harris anymore, because I would agree with that. When I come across the city, I don't want to have to go down Harris and wait there either, because there's, you only get a few cars out. you know, and it's just more of a pain in the neck to come down a local street than to stay on a highway. So I would say that, you know, I would be in favor of making those changes to add the 2 lanes and at least initially leaving Harris so that there's a little bit of a learning curve there. And then maybe we can revisit it and make some changes down the road and, you know, reinforce the fact that there isn't a way to get through. You know, I think that you can put up the sign that says, you know, no through traffic. I think that would be helpful. And I think that there is an argument for enforcement, because I think if people don't see any type of, you know, repercussions for what they're doing, then they're just going to keep doing it. So I think that we need to have some involvement with the police department, you know, to try to, you know, work together and get people's mindset to change to stay on the highway. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, this is a really good plan to reduce delays at that intersection, and it would work. It would work. But I say if we give it about a year and do another traffic count on Harris Street, and if we find that there's less and less cars going down there, more people are taking advantage of these left-hand turn lanes at the Parkway, then there may be no need for that. Like Nick said, people start getting the learning curve, and beyond that point, they know it's a waste of their time. So I would just have that question for HYM and Ian from Howard Steins Hudson. What would have to be done at a later date to remove that movement on Harris Street in terms of timing and signal changes?
So to remove Harris, you'd have to remove those signal faces that face that Harris Street. They're not in the design now because it's not planned.
So that's
for.
it, and then you'd have to...
Well, there was also some traffic islands that we're planning to make it shorter, pedestrian crossings. So you couldn't install those because those were going to be installed where one of those approaches were.
So we'd have to modify that.
So we'd have to modify that.
Yeah.
But we were interested in the Butler and the reversal of Sewell. I mean, is there a potential that we could study that, potentially even as a trial?
I think that's the only way it's going to work.
Well,
And then
like I say, the only
you isolate
problem
the
there
neighborhood.
is you make Harris Street a dead end then. If you're driving down, you get to the end of Harris, you can't go right on Sewell, you can't go straight. Now what do you do?
Well, people in the library neighborhood would have to come down Library Street. They wouldn't be able to come down Harris and enter through Butler or Sewell. So Library is the only way to get in, or Winthrop Avenue.
Right.
So
But
I don't know their
Right.
travel habits down in that neighborhood. What's the easiest way to get in and get out? Depends where you live, I guess, so.
Okay.
Can I?
Sure.
Just maybe comment. So I think one of the challenges about implementing the double left-hand turn lane and making no changes to Harris, and then kind of seeing where the traffic is that you're not going to get a true reading of the traffic, because what it will do is you're not removing a leg of the intersection. You're still keeping the Harris Street leg there. And so you're not really getting a true reading. People will say, well, take Harris one day, they can take either one. It's going to add time across the board to all legs, because you now have this new double left-hand turn movement, which I think you referenced, which is going to add time across the board. And so that one makes me nervous too, because I just don't know if we're going to get that true reading of, okay, what is the impact of this? People are, if there's still that left-hand turn lane out of Harris, folks are still going to do that if it's still available to them, maybe out of habit. Hopefully they would learn, out of just realizing that the other one is faster, right? Staying on 16, they would opt to go there. But again, now you just have an additional leg of the intersection. So the time savings that Ian was talking about, saving 40 seconds across all legs, that goes away, reducing from 2,500 vehicles per day by 60% to 1,500. That stat would change too, or reducing it by 1,500, I should say. That would probably not happen either, because again, Harris Street is fully operational as it was. So I think we want to try to find I don't know if there's more comments, but we'd love to try to find think through potential solutions for this. involving Harris, and I hear the dead end comment is a good one. We would think about studying that, but you can't create a dead end condition, so I don't know if the commission has any other thoughts about, you know, a hybrid here, or we could also come back, we could study and come back.
Okay.
Well, if we do this, it would mean just local neighborhood traffic would be using Harris Street to get out, because the regional traffic coming down Route 60,
Right.
if they have that option, if they can left at Route 16, they're gonna do it. Why would they come down Harris Street? So you're gonna remove
Right.
those vehicles anyway from Harris Street.
So I guess the only other item to mention is that, because MassDOT controls this larger intersection, if we were to make no changes to Harris, again, that's out of, that decision is in some ways out of our control. It's in MassDOT's hands, in terms of, you know, the functionality of the intersection, because part of the strategy of the two left-hand turn lanes was removing the left-hand turn from Harris. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there, because that is a reality that we have to deal with, and we have to deal with them through the planning process, as everybody recalls, for multiple years.
Yeah, so I would like to run a model and see what that means in terms of adding additional delays to what's there now. I mean, because everybody wants to get through that intersection as quick as possible.
Right.
And getting backed up on Winthrop Avenue, getting backed up on Harris Street, getting backed up on the Parkway, it's not fun. You know, and you want to get eastbound and get through that. So this improvement definitely helps that, no doubt about it.
What if you were to make Harris Street do not enter right from Beach Street?
We'd be happy to take a look at that.
Are we, okay.
They-
Lori
I
can-
can't comment, I mean, Lori likes it.
Yeah,
We'd be happy to take a look at that. I mean, again, we are trying to,
I don't know if
that-
that would burden
Yeah, sure.
the residents.
and I guess I would just say, we,
Yes, no? Good?
yeah,
It would burden you. Right, or you could go down Library
Yeah.
Street. Oh, you don't want to do that? Okay. Okay.
if we. So,
Okay.
I just think that what Frank proposed was the best thing to do, you know? Put the lanes there, keep Harris Street for maybe a year, look at the plan, see if they're listening to cars. And then if it's not, come back to the drawing table.
Do I hear a motion to? Just bear with us 1 minute. Yes.
Just throw my additional 2 cents in. Frank and I think alike. I like leaving Harris Street alone. But I think when you're coming out of Bell Circle for cars that want to go east on Revere Beach Parkway, to put in some flashboards there, you know, signal boards, say, once they do the 2-lane turn, that access to Winthrop Ave or Revere Beach Parkway, direct them down out of the circle, down to the split, and then they can take the left there. Have several boards say, this is the way to Winthrop Ave or Revere Beach Parkway eastbound. So put some more boards there, you know. Yeah, so, you know, but not touch Harris Street. I think we have to leave Harris Street alone. You know, it's unfortunately, you know, so, but I think those signal boards are very important once they get the work done. And honestly, those extra 45 seconds for people, I don't care if people have to wait 45 seconds, because 99% of them aren't from Revere. So I say, let them wait. I know they want to get them to Suffolk Downs as quickly as possible, but, you know, we still have to look out for our neighbors and, you know, people living in the area. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have a motion that we can act on?
I mean, at this point, I was one of the proponents of this to improve that intersection. And I didn't realize that the residents in the area would be faced with such an impact in their minds. I don't think it will be as much of an impact as they say it will, but,
Is there an opportunity to, instead of, to go the route of not installing and seeing what happens and then installing, that we install it and then see what happens? And then, I'm trying, you know, we believe in the data and the traffic study we did, which is why, I mean, Howard Sandhudson would speak more eloquently than this, but we believe in the traffic data and the study that we did about, you know, about the reduction of traffic and pulling traffic out of that neighborhood, both on Sewell and on Harris, that would then stay on, you know, again, stay on Route 16. That's the reason this makes sense with that, with a new double left-hand turn lane. I guess I'm concerned that if Harris, we make this change and we don't make any change to Harris, when everybody's waiting longer at every leg of the intersection, again, it's gonna come back to us. How could we have done this? And we're still gonna be the ones to be, kind of bear the brunt of it when this wasn't the original plan. But that's what, I understand that's what people in the neighborhood want, because it makes it, that makes it like more comfortable for them. But I understand that at the same time, I think this will be worse for, whether you're traveling north, south, east, west in this area, it will be worse. And then it will come back to us that we've kind of made traffic worse in this area.
I totally agree with you. I think it'll be a major improvement, but the people in the neighborhood, they know the habits of drivers cutting through their neighborhood better than we all do, so.
Do we have another resident that wishes to speak? You need to come to the mic so people at home can hear your question. Name and address, please.
Eileen Mundus, Pearl Avenue. I just have a quick question, and I might be out and I haven't seen it before. Can you tell me what dates, times that these traffic studies were done? How many days in the week, what hours were they done, for how long, and everything like that?
So the original traffic studies date back to 2017. They were updated in 2019. They were updated in 2021. And then at our last meeting, the police chief asked us to look at them again, and we studied them for 3 whole days in March. I can pull up the actual dates here in a second. But it was a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday condition. So we got a typical weekday. What we see in the traffic industry is that Thursdays are the busiest days on the roads these days, post-pandemic. And we also collected some weekend data to get a snapshot of what the weekends look like as well. So all of that data is available. I'm happy to provide it as well.
Thank you.
Oh, sir, I guess I could come back again. Paul Lucero again. I just had, what's the timetable for this? 2024. 2024? Summer 2024? Okay, and just as an aside, I think that there should be, if it's the improvement for that one spot, it should be voted up or down. Because then it's just going to add, because it's coming. It's coming because you figure how many people are going to be going to Suffolk Downs. And the outskirts are what need to be done because you can't do it from the other way. It just makes it, but it's coming. The traffic's coming. The only thing that I had a problem with was Sewell Street itself, the width and no sidewalks. But the traffic is coming. Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to say one brief item. I know that this, I guess I just wanted to say that this, these set of traffic improvements are about mitigating traffic in the area. This isn't about trying to get these traffic improvements are not centered around trying to get people to Suffolk Downs. We know there's been congestion in this area for a long time, so that's why an intersection like this, when it was looked at in a very detailed way, and Ian showed that, you know, the number of seconds reduction in wait times, that's why we're doing this, it was part of a 3-year study with MassDOT, DCR, City of Revere, City of Boston, on and on. A lot of input went into this in a very detailed traffic study, and this this was kind of determined to be the way to move traffic through this area in the most efficient way.
Thank you. Yeah, you're on. Name and address.
John Stamatopoulos, 15 Sewell Street. And I just want to bring up, and I brought this up on the meeting Monday evening as well. I know this project is set to go, I believe, through fall of 2024, assuming it stays on timeline. In regards to Sewell Street, I've heard sidewalks mentioned a few times, and I brought this up the other night, and if it was already brought up tonight, I apologize. But we're scheduled to get new water lines and drainage and sidewalks next year. So my fear was you're going to direct this traffic into a neighborhood with a street that's actually supposed to be torn up. So that was my main concern, is if we put this in place, I'm confident we're just gonna delay the improvements that are set to happen in 24 for Sewell Street. And it's disheartening if that's the case. But yeah, again, I wasn't privy to the conversation 30 minutes before I walked in.
Thank you. Mr. Rydstrom, are the water lines set to be?
So I can speak to that. The project that is to replace the water system in this neighborhood, that is on schedule to be started later this year and then completed early next year. That still will happen. So I can tell you that we're in the process of putting bid documents together for that to then go out for a public bid. So concerns for that water project, if I can quell them, those are going to happen. They'll be done, should be within the next year. By this time next year, we should be just about wrapping that up.
Different intersections are going to happen at different times. So some of the work on the intersections that were approved at the last hearing, closer to Beachmont Square, Winthrop Avenue, near the Suffolk Downs, those will happen starting this summer. The Harris Street, Route 60, 145, that intersection that we've been talking about here, that would take place, the work would start towards the end of the summer in 2024. I don't have an exact time on how long it will take. It's not a major change, though.
And I would encourage you to do traffic study for that intersection end of summer this year, for next year, because our summer traffic patterns are significant.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I,
Yep.
sorry.
Sure.
Carol Smith, Sewell Street. Were there any studies done at all to see how much foot traffic there is on Sewell Street? And how many families and people and children walk down at morning, noon, and night with no sidewalks, so you walk in the street? And it's a very narrow street. Did anyone look at that to see what the traffic is? Because the cars will be coming through, numerous amounts, and there's nowhere to put them.
Thank you.
We've done traffic studies only for vehicular traffic, not pedestrian traffic.
Traffic. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask, Nick, are they going to put sidewalks on Sewell Street? Are they proposing that?
So right now, we're going to be doing water. That's the first kind of phase of this, the improvements in this area. That'll be followed by stormwater improvements. Presumably, part of the stormwater system is curbing. We're not, we haven't gotten into design yet, so I can't say that there'll be sidewalks on all of Sewell or, exactly where they'll be. There is going to be a concerted effort to look at adding sidewalks. But I can't say, specifically where they will end up. We have to, get into the design first. But there is plans for that neighborhood.
So if you put sidewalks in, you're going to narrow the street more than it is now.
So,
That's just something to take into consideration.
so the sidewalks, believe it or not, where the edge of the grass is, for, you know, along that road and some of these other roads. That's where the curb probably would end up being. The property line and the right-of-way, the extent of the right-of-way is further, you know, 4 or 5, however many feet, kind of into where the grass area is. So it wouldn't necessarily shrink the width of the paved way. Likely that would stay generally the same.
Okay, all right. We're going to be ending the hearing here pretty soon, but
Just want to point out, if you're thinking about sidewalks in that area, and if you did them in that whole area, you would have to take land from 2 Harris Street, the senior citizen housing project there, because their property is fenced right up to where that curb is that you're speaking of.
Yep.
So if you were to put sidewalks there, you'd have to take property from the senior citizen.
So we wouldn't actually be taking property because there's a strip of land along there that's actually city property.
Right.
But we're not to that point yet, so.
But it's currently fenced in.
right.
Understood. I mean, there would have to be
We'd be taking back
modifications.
our own land.
There would be modifications that would have to happen. But like I said, we're not looking at design yet. We're still focused on the water phase of this. And so when we get to that point, that's questions that we'll answer at that time. Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Do you,
Oh,
okay. Yep, no, go right ahead. Come on.
Christine Robertson, 187 Charger Street. I keep hearing about this 40 seconds. Why don't you petition MassDOT to change the light timing on those signals so more cars can get through instead of having a backup? Because I'm guilty, I do use Harris Street when I go to the Wonderland Marketplace, and it lets 3 cars by and it's red. Winthrop Ave, it lets at least 15 cars by when it's coming westbound from the Parkway down Harris Ave, or when they take the other turn. There's another 20 cars, but if you're going towards the marketplace, it lets 4 cars by. I've sat there, I've counted, you know? So maybe you need to petition MassDOT and have them change the light signal timing. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
If I could, real quickly.
Sure.
So as part of this, we are petitioning signal timing changes. And I'll try to explain this real quickly, but if you can think of a signal or the way that traffic light works, it's just a piece of the pie. And so everybody has a piece of the pie, whether they're coming from Winthrop, Route 16. And if you take a bigger piece of pie, the next guy has a little piece. And if you think of that as a pie, everybody has a little bit less seconds and time. So then only 2 or 3 cars get out as opposed to 5 or 6. So if you push the problem, you're just, by taking time or retiming it, you're just pushing the problem around. This intersection is so big that there really is no solution other than adding lanes and removing approaches, which is what typically we see MassDOT does in these instances. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I think that from an engineering standpoint, from a traffic design standpoint, I think the appropriate solution here is to add the 2 lanes and to remove the ability on Harris Street to make that left. I do think that there is going to be an impact to the neighborhood, at least initially, until people learn that they can't go that way anymore. In lieu of that, I'd like to see HYM take a look at adding the 2 lanes, making the change on Harris, but then look at how they can modify the patterns in the neighborhood to sort of ease the traffic that, you know, may be going through the neighborhood a little bit differently. You know, with that said, I'd like to give them some time to do that, and I'd like to make a motion to table this at this time.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So just to understand what's happened, you're going to go ahead with the, putting in the 2 lanes. Can you explain your motion once more?
No, actually, I want to make a motion to table it so that we're not approving or denying at this point. I'd like HYM to take a look at how they might be able to ease the impact to the neighborhood, given that the 2 lanes are added, and the change at Harris Street is also implemented.
So this is tabled for further discussion, and you'll go back, maybe take the suggestion and have a neighborhood meeting and see what we can do to make everyone happy. Okay, thank you. Motion's been tabled. We're going to continue on with requests. Councilor Steve Marabito requests a public hearing to install a speed hump on Fenno Street, 20 feet prior to Spring Street, while Fenno Street is under construction to slow speeding prior to the elderly living facility. Do I hear a motion to move that to a public hearing?
Motion to move to public hearing.
Okay, thank you. We now have Julie DeMauro is here to give us, no, it requests a public hearing. I think it was just put on there. Okay, Transportation Coordinator Julie DeMauro would like to speak regarding the following issues being planned for Revere.
Thank you, and I'll keep this brief. Julie DeMauro, Department of Planning and Community Development. What I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future, to give all of you an update on projects that are going to be happening on Revere roadways. They may be on our own streets, they may be in the MBTA or MassDOT right away.
Okay.
So the first one is a road diet for Page Street and Broadway. We're looking to shorten the existing entrance of Page Street at Broadway from 94 feet down to 60 feet. So that will eliminate the crossing. It'll kind of square off the turning. You can go left and right still onto Broadway, but we're going to narrow that area down there. We're looking to add footage on both the southwest and southeast side of the project.
Okay, if you could.
Yep.
Actually, I don't want to interrupt you. If you could take your conversation outside, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
There will be no parking taken from Page Street at all. So this is not an issue related to parking, but I am bringing it to your attention so that everybody knows that this is happening. Second one is the Broadway Signalization Project update. The project is now complete. We're just going to be doing a training with the police department. They will have full access to the system, the SureTrack system, and then we will also have access to it here at City Hall. The main brains of the system are going to stay at City Hall. This is another quick build project that's going to be on Bennington Street that's being put out by MassDOT. This project is a quick build bike lane, so basically they're just going to stripe the roadway for the bike lane and going to put up the detractors that fold back and forth. And this is about 300 feet of this bike lane project. It's going to be in Revere. It's going to pick up just where, just at the entrance to the Beachmont School, and it's going to drop off at Crescent Street, and it will pick up where HYM is planning their bike mitigation, traffic mitigation for Donnelly Square. And then the last is new find for Title X, and this is the merging. We're going to be doing a comprehensive study of our EV charging stations. Right now, we're getting a lot of public use for our EV charging stations. It's free, and we're kind of racking up the electricity bills every month, right, Paul?
Yeah, that's true.
So we're going to be introducing some language to the current ordinances, both in the regular ordinance, but also in Title X. For Title X, we're going to be introducing some specific fines related to parking in an EV charging station parking bay. So if you're a regular vehicle and you're just parking there, we're looking at a $20 fine. If you are an EV vehicle and you're charging up and you've gone beyond the 2 to 3 hour limit, we haven't decided yet on that, it could be anywhere from $5 to $10. But that will be included in Title X. And that is all the updates I have for now. Pending on what's happening in the department come June, it may not be till July till you see me again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
other requests. Number 2 has been withdrawn. Number 3, Michael Kessman, Infrastructure Program Manager, and Francesca Scalese from the Engineering Department would like to change Lee Street to one-sided parking. The reason for this, there were never curbs there before. The city has recently installed sidewalks and curbs, and it's narrowed the street a bit. So we could move that to a public hearing. I went down there and took a look at the parking spots. There are 6 spots on the east side and 4 spots on the west side. So if we were to make it one-sided parking, I suggest we limit it on the west side so it doesn't reduce as many parking spots. Do I hear a motion to move that to a public hearing?
So moved.
So moved, thank you. And finally, Councilor Cogliandro would like to amend Chapter 10.34.020, Section F, by removing all 8 units located at 100 Waite Street from the ineligible list of resident parking and issue resident parking permits. Do I hear a motion to move? Excuse me, ma'am. Go ahead. Press them, yeah.
I live at 4 Hawes Street,
Uh-huh.
the apartment building between Cleveland and Hawes. We have 2 parking lots, one in the back and one across the street from AC's. There's 16 apartments in that building. There's a lot of 2 cars per apartment. I've gone up across the street a number of times. Number one, I've lived there for 43 years. I've never gotten as many tickets as I have in the last 8 months. They will not give
Resident parking
resident
permits.
parking
Right.
or visitors. I was in the hospital for 6 days. I had that RSV. My granddaughter couldn't even stay with me. It's ridiculous. They won't give us because we have 2 parking lots, but there's not enough room for the people that live in the building.
Okay, do we know how many parking spots are there?
There's about 20.
Between the 2 parking lots?
Yes.
Okay. So there's 1 space per unit?
It's first come, first served.
Okay. All right, so I believe we're going to be moving this to a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to clarify, the address in the request is different from the address that,
That's on the paper, yes.
yeah.
I don't know where they got that, but I was told to come here at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so 100 Waite Street isn't petitioning us?
I think it is.
That's what,
She's speaking for a different place.
you're speaking from a
She's
different
talking
place.
about 4 Hawes,
Okay.
so we wouldn't be able to move that anywhere.
How many units at 4 Hawes? How many units?
16.
16, and how many parking spaces?
About 20 between 2 parking lots.
Okay. Is 100 Waite, is that the last one on the
It's
left
the
there?
next street over.
Yeah, it's at the end, on the end of the street.
Okay,
Correct.
okay. Okay, so, Councilor Cogliandro?
Yes.
Okay, so we could move that to a public hearing, and then do you want to speak to your counselor or something about bringing, because your address isn't on our agenda
I
tonight.
understand that, but this is what I got a letter saying to be here at 5 o'clock.
You got a letter from?
Or somebody from the parking department told me to be here at 5 o'clock.
Okay, all right, well, there's a little confusion there. Do we want to move 100 Waite Street to a public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, do we know if this development at 100 Waite Street, if there are any special permits or variances associated with them with regard to parking?
We could find that out.
Okay.
And that's why we could find that out.
Okay,
I think that would be particularly relevant.
Okay. So
Mr.
you-
Chairman, I'd make a motion to move it to a public
Move
hearing.
it to a public hearing, and by that time, we'll have that information gathered.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? So the 4 Hawes Street, are you familiar with your counselor or anything? Do you?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you reach out to him? Reach out to John, and then we can get that maybe on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you. I believe that's it. Next meeting will be in June. And a motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Second. That's, sure, yeah.